Why, hello there, Mongols and mountaineers alike. Shams Nelson here from Fantastic Anatomy, and in this video I wanted to go through a whole process for drawing your own simple map. And I guess I'm going to call it a fantasy map, but it doesn't have to be. I've drawn actual countries just for fun and also to study their geography. So the first thing, it's going to be pretty much 4 steps. You're going to want to draw your mountains, then either your coast or your rivers, and then your forests and your cities. So I guess that's 5 steps. And so I'm going to show you the most basic method on how to do each of those, and then I'm going to do all these in-depth follow-up videos on each of those different sections, going like really deep. I already started making the PowerPoint for the mountains one, and it's pretty much like a science lecture. So without any further ado, let's get started. So you're going to make your mountain ranges, and I'm kind of going from like a Tolkienian style map. So that's where I kind of first learned or saw a fantasy map, and I really like that style. And it's very simple and easy to do and conveys the point well, and is a good starting point for like other kinds of techniques. So just doing these triangle shaped mountains, and the thing to keep in mind with mountains is that they kind of follow certain like they have a flow to them. So mountains usually form in chains. So this mountain might come all the way up from here. So we'll make an island so that we can keep this self-contained. So right now I'm thinking like, oh, the mountain's coming over here. Maybe there are some hills. And the thing about doing maps is, if you mess up, like this hill isn't very good. I mean, the hills in general, they're kind of like whatever, but when you do lots of stuff, those little details kind of disappear into the background. So right now I'm going to have my mountain chain split off a little bit. That'll be interesting. And I think one thing to keep in mind is you want your geography to be varied. Sometimes I see maps where there's like mountains here, forest here, and you know, it's kind of like each thing has its section, which makes sense for the fantasy trope. You're like, oh, I'm going to go into the forest, but isn't really true to real life. So I like to kind of keep things random, and you can come up with really interesting stories. So let's say like right here, this pass could be important if there are 2 different civilizations. Maybe one of them will put a fort right here. Let's go ahead and skip ahead in the video and put a little fort in. So now we have a little geography-based little location. And let's put some forests. Oh, okay, I should stay in order, but we'll put some forests in there. So now it's giving this little fort some atmosphere. And the other thing you can do, so let's leave the mountains at that. Okay, it doesn't really matter. I want to add some here. I don't know why. I just feel like it balance it out a little. And we'll probably come back and add some more. And I'm using this felt tip pen. I have a whole set of these. I'll do a review on this actually, I think. But I also like to just do it in pencil or ballpoint. It's really good. So actually I'm going to grab the ballpoint pen to show you how to do some shadows, because this will take your mountains to the next level. So you just kind of draw a line almost straight down, maybe curving a little bit to the left, or you could have it curving. The way you do these lines will ultimately affect what your mountains, like the feel that your mountains have. And that's why in the mountains videos there's lots of different variations you can do on these. But let's just finish off this range. Again, you don't have to do it very perfectly. It's all going to blend in together. Your mind's going to blend it together. And you could also do it on the hills, but I like to keep it, so for the hills, let's zoom in here a little bit. See, I like to keep them separate. Doot, 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 doot. The mountains, just to do that one closer up. Is a line down, and just something like this. I like this shadow to follow the left line. Seems to work better that way. Alright, so then you've got your mountains. You're going to want to put in some rivers. And rivers will flow down, and you can do the coastline first or the river. So let's do both. Let's do a coastline down here. So coastline, you keep jagged and kind of keep things random, but also have a general idea of what you want your landmass to look like, so it just doesn't end up in a big circle. So my general idea is that it's kind of like this. And so I'm going to come off of that and do different things, but the overall arcing general shape is going to follow that trajectory. Oops, I didn't mean to do that much. So let's stop it there. And then let's start a river. So let's say a river is always flows from the higher land down to the lowland, so it'll usually start at mountains. I think almost always start at mountains. And then, so let's do a river where you could just have a river like this, just one little stream coming down, if it's a thin river, or you can double it up if it's going to be a thicker river. And then connect that out to the ocean. And in the river episode, I'll go into more details and ideas, but let's have a little like tributary coming in here. Okay, oops, I shouldn't have gone so far past. Okay, whatever. And let's do another river, a long one coming in from here. Let's see, it comes out there. And usually there'll be two ways that a river can end. So let's do a river. They've got innie and outie belly button. So this is kind of an innie that happens when the sea levels rise, and then like drown out that flat land, or else it's an outie because you'll have this kind of delta and it's spitting sediments. Oops, sorry, I should be paying attention where I'm holding the camera. It's spitting out sediments. Oops, that's not a very good one actually. Hold on. Alright, let's do another river. So this one is like a real outie, like the Mississippi basin. I mean the Mississippi Delta. So it's deposited so much sediment over the years, it's created its own little peninsula. Oops. Kind of hard keeping track of the camera and doing this at the same time. I hadn't figured out that. But let's say also this is going to be some swampland, like the Everglades, or the Mississippi Delta is what we're talking about. So we can add these three little lines to kind of distinguish that as marshland. And then let's say these are some Great Plains. So we'll put some lines like this to distinguish that it's some long flat lands. But let's have some some hills in here too. Maybe this is an eroded section of this mountain chain that comes like that. And it kind of also enhances this little pass right here. Cool. So we've kind of done rivers. The other thing about coastlines is to kind of differentiate, to show that it's an actual coastline. You can do these kind of little watermarks on the edge and like a dot, you know, little lines, long lines, dot, kind of like that. And if you go all the way around, it's going to make it clear where your land ends and your seas begin. So unless we have an island, you want to go around that island too. The island is close to land. You can just go around them both. Something like that. Alright, so what have we done? We haven't done forests yet. So I guess since we've developed this area the most, let's draw a forest up in there, so next to where these rivers are coming from. Actually, this area up here seems like it, well, I don't know. Sometimes you see big rivers going through plains, sometimes in forests. That's one thing I hope I'll learn more about, why some places are forests and others, even though there's ample water supply in both. So for forests, I like to just do these circles. You usually start at the bottom, because then you're just going to work your way up like this. Circle, circle, triangle, circle, circle, triangle, circle, 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 triangle. I like to do more circles than triangles usually, and then if it's going like the triangles are more coniferous trees, I think, like pine trees, they have a triangular shape so that the snow, when it lands on them, will fall off instead of breaking breaking the limbs. So I do these shapes anyways, and I add these little trunks to the ones that you can see at the bottom. And I think that's pretty much it. From here you can just kind of go on and keep expanding your little world. Oh yeah, let's put a city. So a city can just be a little dot. Callanthorpe shall be the name of this small settlement, and not far from the capital of, let's say the river splits a little bit and comes back together. That's kind of cool. So there's a little island. Maybe down here there's the capital city, so we can distinguish it a little bit more with a wall around it like that. So basically, to do that, let's do one more walled city. So that's the castle. I'm gonna add a little door there. It kind of distinguishes it as a castle. And I guess you could also distinguish bigger cities like with a circle around it. And this is Elfsdale. And this is Castle Rumpkin. Lord Rumpkin is a very grumpy man. And this is Castle Castle Stephen. That sounds more mystical. Alright, so I think that's it. You got all the little ingredients you need to put together your little fantasy map. I really like doing these things because it's very relaxing and you can do a lot of world building. So I can say like, oh, Castle Stephen. Oh, one more thing. So let's say they've got trade routes. Those are nicely distinguished by a dotted line. And I like to not make the trade routes go straight because it takes into account the environment. So trade routes and rivers are best drawn before you draw forests. I like to leave forests last because then you leave a little space around it so that it helps it pop out. And I think it's intuitively understood that the forest, that it's going through the forest, not going through like a trail shaped clearing in the forest. So I think Elfsdale would be surrounded by forest, and it's good to draw the names in too because you can do the same thing. And you don't really have to be very neat about these things. Oh, see, the one thing you want to avoid is straight lines usually, but there are sometimes the Ural or Ural, I'm not sure how they're supposed to be pronounced. Mountains in Russia are almost a straight up and down vertical line. But yeah, most of the time in nature things follow a more organic shape. So cool, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys make some friggin' awesome fantasy maps, and if you do, post a link to it in the comment below because I would love to see it. And that's it. Peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone.